A reckless and irresponsible individual finds himself imprisoned, spending 5 years there. Throughout his time, he nurtures a relentless desire for freedom and vengeance against those responsible for ruining his pregnant girlfriend's life. Inside the detention center, he dedicates himself to physical improvement, while the local authority meaningfully twirls his bracelet. When the alarm sounds, he emerges into the common corridor, where the henchmen of the crime boss eagerly await. Joining the fight without hesitation, the man scatters his adversaries, earning the approving shouts of fellow inmates. Despite the overwhelming number of attackers, he persistently makes his way towards the courtyard exit, where he confronts his primary enemy. With his helpers defeated, the man engages in the climactic battle, emerging victorious and reclaiming his bracelet. Meanwhile, on the Go coastline, a man indulges in substances within the confines of a small restroom in a local cafe. Upon exiting, he proceeds to entertain the crowd with a karaoke performance, receiving enthusiastic applause from the bar owner. The owner boasts about his thriving business, which involves illicit substances in his chain of cafes. However, a recent new waiter refused to participate in the lucrative enterprise, leading the owner to eliminate him. The jovial customer laughs alongside the owner, but their mirth is abruptly interrupted by a gunshot. Startled, a police officer stationed at the cafe entrance apprehends the customer, discovering him standing over the lifeless body of the owner. However, his boss turns out to be the visitor, Inspector Aghase, infamous for his preference for eliminating known criminals by staging their deaths as confrontations with the police. Once again, he chooses to physically eliminate the distributor of illicit substances instead of taking him to the police station. Outside the cafe, a man's voice calls him, revealing the imminent murder of the policeman and bidding him a happy solstice. Meanwhile, Michael, a law-abiding cop, is enjoying a family dinner, despite the strained relationship between Michael and his wife. Teresa, their relatives, commend the couple, expressing regret that they haven't yet had children. Teresa leaves to fetch cake, and Michael follows, catching her texting someone on her phone. After waiting for her departure, he reads the messages, growing convinced of her intention to leave him and start a new life with another man, though he keeps this knowledge to himself. Soon after, he receives news of the death of his friend and colleague, Victor. Victor had been brutally assaulted before being hung over the entrance of a house. At the crime scene, Michael encounters Aghase, who aims to track down and eliminate the killer, while Michael intends to apprehend him. In the background, footage reveals that the recently released man, injected in the neck, had beaten and murdered the policeman. Aghase warns that this will be a long night for them, as the killer unties the knot on his bracelet and departs from the crime scene wearing a red hoodie. 5 years ago, time rewinds. Simultaneously, a young girl named Sara packs her belongings, donates her gadgets to a beggar, and departs from home. At the same time, another individual named Advait does the same. Leaving their past lives behind, they venture to go. In this new chapter, they indulge in enjoyment, attending parties, gradually experimenting with illicit substances, and living life on their own terms. However, their paths unexpectedly intersect at one of the rave parties. The couple proceeds to another gathering where they encounter a girl named Jessica. They joyfully dance and swim together in the sea during the night, but the following morning, Sara reveals to Advait that she seeks no serious commitment. To her, he is merely one of the knots on her bracelet, symbolizing her triumph over fears and her ability to overcome loneliness. Having untied this knot, Sara expresses her intention to pursue her own path. Astonished, Advait realizes that he has no means of contacting the girl, as she does not possess a phone. The story then shifts to Christmas Eve. Following a murder, Advait visits Jessica's house, while the police station interrogates a suspected substance distributor, who adamantly denies involvement. Inspector Aghase brandishes a gun to demonstrate its versatility as a hammer or screwdriver. However, Michael objects vehemently to such methods, leading to a scuffle between the two officers. Frightened, the detainee confesses to being hired by a white girl with tattoos and dreadlocks, immediately placing her on the wanted list. This reminds Aghase of the individual captured on camera footage wearing a red hoodie at Victor's house. At this moment, Advait once again contacts Aghase through the inspector's phone. The dealers prove unhelpful in locating him, but he effortlessly finds and eliminates another police officer. Once again, Advait extends his wishes for a happy solstice. On-duty personnel report that the call originated from the ongoing carnival, where half of their squad is engaged in revelry. Aghase hurriedly heads to the scene, issuing an all-points bulletin for a man wearing a red hoodie, while he tracks down a participating officer. In a technical maneuver, he coerces the officer into an alley and subjects him to a merciless beating, as numerous police cars rush to the area, pleading for his life and citing his family. The officer begs Advait not to kill him. However, Advait callously breaks his arms and proceeds to stab him in the neck, causing the officer to be propelled out of a window and land at Aghase's feet. For a fleeting moment, the policeman and the murderer lock eyes, but Advait manages to slip away amidst the masquerade. The narrative transitions back in time to when Advait encounters Sara once more by the oceanfront. Cautioning her about the unreliable cliff, Sara expresses her determination to conquer her fear of heights. Holding hands, they leap off the edge and untie the next knot. Falling deeply in love, they decide to embark on a nomadic journey together. They revel in the ocean, engaging in activities like swimming, sunbathing, and partying. Sara refuses to live a life similar to her parents, filled with perpetual labor and childcare, while Advait prefers her company over conventional living arrangements. The couple strikes a pact to live solely for themselves, free from obligations and promises. And for a while, they succeed. The young duo thoroughly embraces the joys of youth, reveling in fun, the marvels of nature, and beautiful evenings. Overcoming their fear of heights together through skydiving, they untie the subsequent knot. However, at a certain party, Jessica falls ill and requests a shot to counteract the effects of excessive substance use, as she always carries a loaded antidote syringe. It is then revealed that she earned her income through the sale of her own body. As a tourist, she too had once arrived in Goa, but the intensity of this lifestyle proved overwhelming for her. This particular incident prompts Sara to ponder on life and reminisce about her parents and Christmas. Advait, seeking to uplift her spirits, escorts her to a house where they don beautiful attire and partake in a Christmas celebration. As she strolls through the vibrant streets of the city, these memories flood back to Advait. Meanwhile, the police uncover information that years ago, the deceased officers, alongside another colleague, were involved in a substance-related case that led to the imprisonment of a man named Advait. A woman named Jessie was also implicated in that incident. In the midst of this, Michael loses his temper and lashes out at a journalist who suggests that courage should be shown to his wife. Perplexed by his colleague's behavior, Aghase instructs him to go home. However, news emerges that the third member of the trio is present at the stadium at that very moment. The police rush to the scene. Yet, Advait is already on the stage, identifying his target and their escort in the corridor. Simultaneously, Michael tracks down Jessica and pursues her. Suddenly, the hallway plunges into darkness, triggering the activation of the fire suppression system. Advait opens fire, eliminating everyone except his intended adversary, who flees to the rooftop. Moments later, the policeman plummets from a height onto a parked car. Michael catches up with Jessie at her residence, while Advait seeks refuge in the underground parking lot. Jessica drenches the walls with fuel, and Aghase observes Advait calmly positioned in front of his vehicle. Michael, bursting onto the scene, manages to catch sight of the burning pictures on the wall, thereby realizing that he too is the target of revenge. Aghase prepares to shoot Advait, but to everyone's surprise, he kneels down and surrenders to the police. Firefighters rescue Michael from the blaze, and news of Advait's arrest is reported. While en route to the station, Aghase contemplates why the man chose to surrender instead of blending into the crowd, and there's a strange familiarity about his face. 5 years ago, Sara makes the startling discovery that she is pregnant. On that same evening, she overhears a conversation between a young girl and her father, who happens to be Aghase. The girl pleads with her father to leave her alone, unaware that Sara is clearly visible in the background. A frustrated Aghase confides in his assistant, expressing the need to recapture the previously released criminal and return him to prison as mandated by the law. Consequently, the police embark on an operation to apprehend the dealers, coincidentally at the same party where Sara and Advait are present. A shootout ensues, resulting in Aghase's daughter being shot and dying in her father's arms. Witnessing Aghase's devastation over the loss of her daughter, Sara gains a profound understanding of her own parents and decides to keep the child. She informs the boy, but he runs away. Aghase, shattered by his daughter's death, succumbs to addiction and undergoes a significant personality change. Advait, on the other hand, travels and encounters other girls, but is constantly haunted by memories of Sara. One day, he visits his friend and witnesses the touching bond the friend shares with his wife, prompting him to hastily return. However, Sara is not at home, so he rushes to find her at Jessica's place. Upon hearing a commotion outside the door, he bursts into the room. The story shifts to the present tense. There is no evidence against Advait, as he is not captured on any surveillance cameras. There is nothing to charge him with. Aghase suggests shooting him under the pretense of an escape attempt, but Michael insists on obtaining a confession. He enters the interrogation room, where the truth about Michael's past and what truly happened to Sara and Advait is unveiled. His friends mock Michael, who is ready for marriage but still a virgin, wondering what if his bride doesn't find him appealing. They suggest he go to Jesse. However, he chooses to be with Theresa instead and refrains from physical intimacy until marriage. Worried that his lack of sexual experience will make him seem ridiculous, Michael seeks out Jesse, who is temporarily housing Sara. Mistaking Sara for Jesse, Michael pulls out money, leading to Sara's outrage and the policeman assaulting her due to his own insecurity. Just then, Advait enters the scene and discovers Michael attempting to strangle Sara. He intervenes and calls the police. When the officers arrive, they take Advait and Sara to a bridge, brutally beating them to avoid a scandal involving Michael, whom the victims plan to report. The girl is injected with a lethal dose and thrown into the river with a happy solstice wish. Advait is also injected and arrested on charges of distributing substances. In the following days, Michael reveals to Advait that his father was abusive and his mother took it out on him, resulting in the loss of his sense of manhood. He concealed this fact even in his marriage. Realizing the truth, Sara seals her own fate. And today, Michael killed Jesse, finding it superior to love. The three of them have become murderers. Only Aghase and Advait do not derive pleasure from killing, while Michael considers it the greatest sensation in life. Unable to tolerate it any longer, Advait assaults the scumbag, but the police apprehend him. A satisfied Michael hands over the man to Aghase, who plans to take Advait out of the station and kill him. However, before departing, Michael wishes Aghase a happy solstice, leaving Aghase pondering the motives behind Advait's revenge. Aghase repeatedly watches his daughter's recent footage and finally recollects where he saw the couple. He drives Advait to the same bridge where it all started, while Michael returns home and discovers Theresa's intention to leave him, prompting him to assault her. Advait discloses to Aghase that Michael and his friends killed Sara. Michael prepares to murder his wife. Advait reveals that he surrendered himself so that Michael could return home and face his impending demise. Meanwhile, Michael begins to strangle Theresa. Aghase is puzzled, questioning who could kill Michael if the killer is present. Suddenly, Michael is injected with a drug in his neck, and upon turning around, he finds Sara alive and well, wearing a red hoodie. A flashback reveals that Jesse saved Sara by administering the antidote, although she lost the baby. For 5 years, Sara and Advait meticulously planned their revenge and carried out the murders together. Unexpectedly, Aghase is informed of Michael's murder at his own residence. Due to a lack of evidence, he reluctantly releases Advait, and Theresa informs the police that she spotted a man in a red hoodie but cannot identify him. Advait and Sara find solace and embark on a new life. The film concludes with Aghase receiving a call from an unknown woman forewarning him of an impending murder, mirroring the way Advait informed him earlier.